Well, we just looked at the credit profile as a whole. There was no one immediate trigger that made us upgrade the country. But over the last 5 to 10 years, you can see quite a stark change in the public finances, in the external finances as well. So from a liquidity and a solvency perspective, the build-up of FX reserves over the last 5 to 10 years has been quite stark.
Okay, well, yeah. David just walked into the picture,
Here I am.
literally. So what do you want to ask?
But I also want to point it out as well, because you also mentioned that governance standards are still weak from what you would normally expect a country of this rating. Is that something that, at least, well, for the lack of a better word, that you're willing to overlook given the other factors that you did cite as well?
Well, as we mentioned in the report and the press release, we don't view it as a constraint on the rating per se. But one of the key assumptions that we do have underpinning this rating is that the Aquino administration will persist with its current policy agenda, which is focusing on good governance and so forth.
Actually, I was talking to a lot of people about this. Is it any concern to you? Obviously, a lot of praise has been directed towards Aquino's government, but this all ends, obviously, in 2016. How does that play out?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, one might say. For us, we try to rate on a 2 to 4 year, on a 2-year forecast horizon, which arguably takes you through to 2015. However, given the general momentum and so forth within the Philippines' credit profile, it was our feeling that that it was warranted. The policy environment will persist beyond that forecast period. And if you take the example of, say, under the Ramos administration, that was another time when there was very positive momentum surrounding the Philippines. It still took a few years longer for the missteps under the Estrada administration to show through. So from our perspective, it's likely that any potential problems and reversals would show up maybe a year or two after the
5 to 6 years down the road.
Now, did you want to get ahead of the curve, beat the other ratings agencies, since this was talked about and, priced in for so long?
No. We just felt that the credit deserved to be rated in the BBB range, albeit at the weaker end.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what about some of the concerns about the Philippines vis-a-vis other countries that have the BBB rating? Because I believe their fiscal intake is not as high as other countries as well.
Well, it's a very broad spectrum as the BBB range. You have to remember also that in there is Indonesia and India, both of which have quite poor public finances.
Right, but the Philippines have a low fiscal revenue take of just 18% of GDP, whereas most of these countries rated BBB, they have 32%. So there's a there's a substantial gap there.
That's true, and it does impair fiscal liquidity for the Philippines and constrains their ability to spend on, say, public infrastructure and so forth, which might help lift the overall investment rate and trend GDP growth. However, the improvements in the fiscal management just over the last few years do suggest that they are creating that fiscal space and could potentially increase it, particularly with a target to have public investment to GDP at about 6% by 2016.
What then, in your view, is the biggest risk which could derail this momentum right now?
From our perspective, it would be more a domestically sourced risk. The strength of the external balance sheet is so strong that an external risk is likely to be absorbed by the credit profile quite well. But in terms of domestic potential risks, it would probably be something along the lines of, say, banking sector instability or a deterioration in governance standards from their current level, neither of which are in our base case. And given BSP's track record in terms of managing the financial system, that clearly is not a base case for us.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Philip, thanks so much for getting up so early to explain your decision to upgrade the Philippines this morning. Good to see you.